fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
This is very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome one, welcome all to a SimSpeed TV presentation here on the iRacing Esports Network. It's the international division of the Majors Series, round 4 of the championship, the Race of the Netherlands. What you're looking at is the magnificent Circuit Park Zandvoort on the Dutch coast. It's a very historic track, one that has been the scene of many great races in many different disciplines of motorsport. But right here, right now, we're racing TCR. Everyone's in the Audi RS3 for this round of the championship. It's going to be another big test of the driver's versatility, and I can't wait to see who comes out on top. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box tonight, Ryan Jones. And Ryan, my goodness, we've had a really good season of the majors so far, and we get to our first, I'd say, proper road course race of the season here at Zandvoort, and in front-wheel drive touring cars to boot.
Yeah, this is going to be quite an interesting race, this one. 2 sprint races ahead of us, 22, 25 laps. And this track is relatively difficult to make an overtake on, so qualifying was crucial. But the fact that they are sprint races means these drivers are going to be going as hard as they can for every lap of this race, which should provide us with some very good racing action today.
Yeah, certainly should. 22 and 25 laps, as you said, and it's going to be the same grid for both races. The grid, of course, set by the qualifying sessions through the week. And these should be nice, straight sprint races, no pit stops required for the drivers. But with the Audi RS3 on this new tyre model version 7, you do have to take care of the tyres in races as long as that. The tyres can very easily go off towards the end, and you're fighting with an understeering machine.
Yeah, front-wheel drive cars are very difficult to drive, at least here on iRacing they are. I mean, it plays with your force feedback a bit, which is a bit disorientating at first. And then it's a whole other style of driving you've got to adapt, as opposed to some of the rear-wheel drive cars that are on this service too, because of the fact that all the power is coming from the front, so it understeers like a dump truck for basically the whole race. And as of course tires wear off, the car just suddenly does not want to turn at all. So it's definitely something you've got to bear in mind. And these cars are tricky to drive, but the racing action is phenomenal.
It absolutely is, and we see that every week in the Australian Turbo Touring Car Series, which you commentate and I race in, and you should check that out on Wednesday nights on SimSpeed TV to get more racing like this. But we turn our attention to the majors for now, and the drivers' standings are quite interesting. Matt Danson currently leading the pro standings in the international division, and coming off some excellent victories in the last couple oval races. But unfortunately, he's not here today. So 164 points behind is Marco Mogren, who we do see on the field. And guys like Dean Moll and Dwayne Burns certainly stand to gain a lot from Danson's absence.
They do. I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised that Danson hasn't turned up today. He's a very good oval racer. He claims he is very good in a road course, but we don't often see him turn up to back up that claim, unfortunately. Hopefully we see him back, because he could definitely provide us with a very good championship fight. But looking at the rest of the picture there, it's very tight behind Marco Mogren, isn't it? All the way back to Cameron Dance, the reigning champion, back there in 10th. I think this has the potential to be a year-long fantastic fight, this one, for the pro drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. That top 10, incredibly close. Many people within that 100 points of assaulting the top 3. And with the 2 races today both paying half points, it's certainly going to spice things up. Here are the Sportsman Drivers Championship standings, and the Sportsman division will be running concurrently with this. Stephen Williams currently in the lead, and Matt Andrews only 84 points behind. Matt Hunter very close for the top 3 as well. That looks like a very competitive division too.
It does, and come the end of the season where we may have slightly smaller grids in Pro, we may see some of these drivers getting into this top split, or it just being one split too. So their opportunities for decent points holes in the points order to be shaken up. So for all these drivers, they just got to keep themselves in the picture by the end of the season.
In the Legends standings, meanwhile, for drivers over 50 years of age, it's quite the interesting picture you see in these standings. Daniel Stevens and John King fighting for that top spot, but Wayne Taylor is right behind them there, not too far behind. So it looks like this over 50 competition is going to go year long as well.
Honestly, it looks like any of those top 3 could win it. I think it's going to be between those top 3 drivers coming the end of the season. You can see they've already got quite a big gap back to Stadler and Otto in 4th and 5th. So Stevens, King, and Taylor, that's going to be quite the fight to watch out for. As a championship we often don't think about when we're commentating a race, but definitely one that could provide a lot of action.
Yeah, certainly could, and it would pay for all of us to pay a lot of attention to it as the series goes on. We go to the elite team standings then, and my goodness, you see that gap up the top between Illusion and Kinetic, only 2 points between them. And Illusion and Kinetic are the two biggest teams, I guess you could say, in the international division of the majors. They always have at least 3 or 4 drivers out there battling hard for those positions, and it's certainly working out well for them. They're a long way ahead of the likes of MF Racing, Avatar, Fitstye, but that fight could go either way at the end of this night.
It could. I think the championship will be between them. As you mentioned, they've always got 3 or 4 cars out there. Both teams work extremely hard on their setups, their speed for each round. So I think those two, it's going to be between them. But if we come into the final round of the championship with 2 points between them, it's going to be like one heck of a race.
Yeah, certainly. Hopefully that gap stays as it is for most of the season, but got to remember this is only round 4 in a year-long championship, so it's going to be difficult for the teams to keep all of that up. And finally, Premier Team standings, Illusion Motorsport Juniors with a very dominant run over the 2 MF Racing junior teams, Sports and Casual. It looks like Illusion has basically locked it away right here at the start of the season.
You reckon?
I
They've,
reckon.
yeah, that's a comfortable margin, to say the least. But as you say, it's round 4 of a very long season, so anything can still happen. But they have got 4 drivers pretty much each and every round competing in the sportsman standings. So you'd probably comfortably put money on them for the Premier Championship.
Yeah, I'd put my money on them too. But we'll have to wait and see, because this is a very long, very difficult championship. Make sure to subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network for more stuff like this. It's a very big time for sim racing at the moment, in the midst of all the postponements and cancellations in the real-life motorsport world. So we are going hell for leather, getting you your content, your racing action in the virtual world. And also, chuck a subscribe to us over at SimSpeed TV as well. We run a lot of series on our own channel, like the Australian Turbo Touring Car Series, which you can see races like this just about every week. So 5 minutes to go in the practice session. Will Leslie currently sitting on top of the drivers' standings, and that is a 1 minute 46.583 for him. Chris Purnell not too far behind, only a 10th between the top 2. But practice lap times don't tell the full story. You're only really going to see what kind of pace these drivers have once we get to the midpoint of the races.
Yeah, practice. Some drivers will be practicing their full fuel runs. Some may be practicing low fuel for potentially the end of the race. Hard to know what the real pace is in this. Qualifying shows a better picture, at least on short run pace. But this Circuit Park Zandvoort, be interesting to see how long we have this configuration of it, because obviously it's undergoing some quite major changes, hasn't it, in the real world in the last few months. Banking being added to the last corner and over at turn 3 as well has pretty much changed the complexion of the racetrack.
It certainly has. So this version of Zandvoort you're seeing our drivers drive around now is going to turn into a legacy version of Zandvoort imminently. So this is a nice classic representation of what the circuit used to be like before Formula One was supposed to come back this year. But we'll see how that works out further on in the year. And Chris Owen here sitting in fourth, demonstrating the run up to Shivlak Corner. You get off into the grass there. There's no tarmac runoff. So you make a mistake, you put a wheel into the grass, you're basically gone. You have to take a very long, very painful trip through the gravel trap.
You do, and you can see that. Yeah, it's very tough, that part. When you do clip the grass in these front wheel drive machines, it's virtually impossible to get yourself out of it without going for a long tour through said grass because of just the way the front tires bite into it. So it's something you want to avoid at all costs. You can't just push an extra little millimeter like you might in a touring car, or Australian touring car of some description, or an AS car. You can clip the grass and get away with it. In these things, it's impossible. And Mick Boyce, Lewis, that's going to be a season-long question, isn't it?
It
Showing us again how easy it is to end up a long way off the circuit.
Yes, indeed. And Marco Mogren demonstrating Shivlak Corner again. It's a very quick corner there in the middle of the circuit, and another driver testing the limits. But this middle sector of the circuit, not an original part of Zandvoort's original layout. It was actually established in the 1980s, this infield section, with very wide hairpin leading you onto a back straight. This is one of the corners where we're going to see a lot of overtakes being made. It's very wide. There's multiple lines you can take through it, and it'll get you a good run and a potential overtaking opportunity down here into this chicane. It's a fast right-hand entry, and then you got to slow up for this left-hander that just seems to keep on going, and you got to nail the throttle out of that to get yourself a good run into these last couple of turns.
Yeah, Marco Mogren, he won the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the official series last season in the TCR. I'm presuming in Div 1 he's got a pretty high R rating, so he's going to be one to watch out for today. And you can see there the track map, not even going to attempt those corner names, Reese.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see them all, 15 of them. Tight, twisty circuit, lots of back and forth. If you do get side by side, there are plenty of opportunities to hang around the outside and then have the inside for the next corner, which is good. Another topic we haven't mentioned yet is the new damage model to these cars. These are one of the cars that have had the new damage model added to them, which, if you're not aware, is obviously an upgrade to the damage physics of all the cars. It's slowly being implemented across the service and makes for some pretty spectacular crashes, which thankfully we are virtual, so we can admire spectacular crashes. You'll see front wheels come flying off, rear wheels come flying off, bumpers, wings. So quite something to look at. But also, if there is debris on the track immediately after a crash and you hit it, it can also send you flying off the track yourself. So that's another dynamic to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly. It's another shade of realism being added to our sim racing experience. And touring car racing being the way it is, especially, the low engine capacity, front wheel drive sort of deal that these Audi RS3s are, it's very easy to throw one up the inside. These cars have anti-lock brakes, so you'll be able to lean on that a little bit if you want to try and dive up the inside, particularly down at Tarzanbocht, the first turn. Mick Boyce making his way through those last couple of turns. You can see the way he works the wheel through here. Got to keep it nice and smooth. Don't turn too much, because not only do those front wheels have to steer the car, they have to power it as well. So it's going to be difficult to get a good run out of that last turn, especially when the tires get down to their canvases. And that new damage model, we might see some tires lying on the racetrack. Hopefully not. We have known the majors to be quite a clean series for the most part, so hopefully we don't see any big incidents like that. But the session is now over. We're going to go very shortly into our starting grid for this first race of the Race of Netherlands. the International Division of the Majors Series. Session has finally ticked over. The gridding process has begun, and Marco Mogren lines up on pole for this race. Thomas O'Leary joins him on the first row. Cameron Dance, the reigning champion, starting from third place. Will Leslie alongside him. Chris Purnell and Dwayne Burns in fifth and sixth. Harold Stadler and Victor Folby in seventh and eighth. And the top 10 rounded out by Mirko Dortonak and our Legends Championship leader, Daniel Stevens.
Christopher Norton starts 11th with Chris Owen on the outside of row 6. Dave Douglas and Matt Muggleton on row 7. Brett Gerards and Shane Bowen from 15th and 16th. 17th is John King, Alex Court next to him. Top 20 rounded out by Mick Buist and Matthew Clowett.
And our final 6 cars, Wayne Taylor in car 420. Michael Skurlock joins him. Dean Mole and Jonathan Bin on row 12. Jake Fox and Johnny Bell rounding at your 26 car field, and we are just about to go green. It's a very short gridding period here. Track conditions up there, 28-degree track temperature, but the sky is mostly clear, only partly cloudy. Here we go. Green flag flies, everyone preparing, and we are away for the race of the Netherlands. In the background, I see an absolutely magnificent start from Daniel Stevens. He's gained a couple of positions already on the run up to Tarzan Corner as they come in for the first time. And it's quite clean up the front. Marco Mogren maintaining that lead, but they're running 2x2 further back in the field. They've all got to get into single file here. Harold Stadler trying around the outside of Dwayne Burns. They're going side by side into Hugenholtz. Quite the interesting run there. And Brett Gerard's having some adventures as well.
You just saw Dornak off the track as well on the approach to that corner. Almost clipped his teammate on the rejoin. But a very good start for most of the field. They've got through the very tight, tricky first few corners very cleanly. Whether that continues in race 2 it remains to be seen. Still side by side between these two, Chris Owen and Daniel Stevens. Trying to go round the outside, bit of contact between them. And they should sort themselves out into here, which they do. And Chris Owen takes that spot away. Christopher Norton stuck on the outside now of Victor Follerby. Can't quite make that move stick. Chris Owens found his way by Daniel Stevens as well. Brett Gerards has found his way up behind Daniel Stevens. I should say Norton sliding it into that corner. That's a very tricky corner, that one, because you've got to get it slowed down and turned for a very tight right-hander for a very long left-hander. Race. So Marco Mogren is out to a very good lead at the end of lap 1 then. He's going to lead him by over a second, and you can see being defensive already for third place. Will Leslie, Cameron Dance forced to go the long way round on the approach to turn 1. Can he be late on the brakes and do it? Don't think it's quite going to be possible. He's sliding the car. He's almost lost it, and this could open up an opportunity for Chris Purnell, who's now on a Tex and Spitstye sandwich here. He's got Harold Stadler behind, Dance in front, and Purnell will stay in the same spot. We've officially lost Reese Gardner as well. He'll be back in the not too distant future. Unfortunately, Jay Kennedy is going to have to jump in place of him.
Yeah, nobody wants that, do they? Hello, everyone.
In the meantime. G'day, Jay. So
That was uncharacteristic there from Cam, from Dance. He usually is pretty good, but of course cold tyres as well play a huge factor in these cars. So making sure you get your tyres up to temp early enough, as you just see John King losing a couple of spots. Getting your tyres up to temp early, or having your car set up for the balance at the start or the end, is really going to dictate how this race plays out. Marco Mogren, really big chance of running away with it, but every other position is well and truly up for grabs.
yeah, and Dance had a relatively poor start off the initial launch. Lucky it was a short run down into turn 1. It sort of saved his bacon a little bit there, and so he still sits 4th, which is only a spot lower than where he started. They're all seeming to back up behind him. Purnell, Stadler, Burns, Norton, Follerby, Chris Owen, all lines up there behind. And now they come into this final corner, which hopefully in the near future for iRacing, if they head over and scan, will be banked and an absolute spectacle to marvel at. But at the moment, it's still a relatively normal looking right-handed corner as they dive uphill and into this main straight.
The amazing little circuit, this one, and very, very underrated. Perfect for these cars. So looking forward to seeing how the remainder of this race plays out. Tyres are going to be such a huge factor. You don't really think in touring car racing like this that tyres are a huge factor. You more think of that in Formula One style races where tyres play a factor. But these races we've seen throughout the Australian Turbo Touring Cars Championship, these races, the tyres are so crucial. Even in a 10, 15-minute race, the tyres can play a huge factor in how that plays out. We've got 22 laps. This is about a 35-odd-minute race. These guys are going to be really, really struggling with tyre grip by the end. No pit stops. So how you've set your car up balance-wise for those last 10 minutes of the race is going to be a big, big thing. I don't know how many drivers would have actually thought about how long this race actually is in these cars. Maybe a few major adjustments to setups in between races.
Certainly, and we apologise for those who have noted the fact that Jay's microphone sounds like it's about 400 feet away from his mouth. He wasn't prepared to commentate, and it's quite hard for the director to hear himself. Oh, there's a spinner! Oh, who was that? Was it Dwayne Burns?
Yeah, it was Burns.
Yeah,
I
Dwayne
apologise
Burns
for
had
that.
spun, and he almost made contact with Alex Court as he tried to get going again. And yeah, obviously Jay can't hear his microphone level when he's directing the same race he's commentating on, so makes it a little bit tricky. Hopefully we've got that sorted now. And Michael Skurlock trying to be aggressive, but makes contact with Matthew Clowett. This checks up a few people. Dwayne Burns will squeeze around the outside. So too will Wayne Taylor now. And they now sort themselves out. Skurlock will be perturbed about that. He will have been wanting more space given from Clowett, who himself thought he didn't warrant the room being given on the inside there. So Skurlock loses a few spots from that. Now he's under pressure from Jonathan Bain down this very tight front straight. I don't think they've widened this, so this will be very interesting to see when F1 comes here next year. But for now, it'll just about handle the TCRs. There's a complete lap 3, only lap 4 of this one.
All right, hopefully that's better now and people can hear me. But yeah, crazy little battle there. And there's some more battles going on. Matt Muggleton and Shane Bowen going at it. I think we're going to see some really big shuffling throughout the field. We're going to see drivers drop back early on, come back through in the mid-phase, and may then drop back again in the latter stage of the race. I don't think you want to be too aggressive at this stage of the race either, because if you are way too aggressive, as I just said before, tyres, you don't want to burn them up now on lap 4 and then be struggling around with nothing left on them at lap 20. So, yeah, really strategic thinking about how you manage your tyres is going to be huge.
The only driver not really worried about that is Marco Mogren, holding a 3.2 second lead, almost opening it up by a second a lap out there. Someone put in the chat that he won the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, which I remarked earlier. And, well, you can see why. He's got some phenomenal pace right now. No one really able to challenge him at the moment, at least, as we see this very tight mid-pack led somewhat by Muggleton and Bowen here in 12th and 13th place. You can see that Bowen's got the pace. He's able to close up to the back of Muggleton very easily, but not able to find a way by. If he gets a good run out of this corner, he may be able to have a look at turn 1, which is basically the best overtaking opportunity on the track. He has got a good run. He's tucked firmly up behind him. Muggleton doesn't defend, so this opens up the inside for Bowen into turn number 1. He goes late on the brakes and takes it away. Muggleton will sidestep and let him take that spot. And Dave Douglas will be watching in his mirrors now, slightly worried about the prospect of Shane Bowen getting to him. Mirko Dortnack had an issue through turn 1. Let's take a look at this, courtesy of Motor Simulation.
I think he might have got a little bit distracted by the battling going on. Just had to tap the brakes in the mid-corner, and the car just really unsettled. That was really close there. I think that was Alex Court in that JP Simshed car. He's left DPR Racing. The overlay still says DPR in the majors, but yeah, he's now at JP Simshed. So that was a very crazy little moment there. It could have been huge. I tell you what, battle's still going on. Chris Owen and Victor Folby, they've been at it since lap 2.
Yeah, these guys are battling very nicely and side by side again. This time, Chris Owen on the inside of the circuit, but Folby, I think, just backed out of it there. He dropped a bit of time, might have got out of the throttle, but oh no, he tried to come back. I think I think he tried to back out of it, Jay, and then got caught out by how early Chris Owen braked and almost hit the back of him.
I think that caught him out a little bit there, how early he broke. And have a look just in the background there. Dave Douglas has got a big crew of cars behind him now. So remember Bowen and Muggleton, they overtook, well, there was an overtake on the last lap Bowen threw on Muggleton, but now Dave Douglas, he's dropped a whole heap of time on this lap, and he might lose one. And if he loses one, I wouldn't be surprised if he loses 3 spots right now. Here comes Shane Bowen on a charge.
Yeah, Douglas, sort of fan of these cars, and that Virtual Motorsport Mentor Machine's going to lose a spot as Bowen goes by, but the crossover move, well played, Dave, gets back to his inside, wrong part of the circuit though for the next quarter, almost banging doors in the run down of turn 4, and he takes a bit of the grass, and Matt Muggleton's going to force the issue, get to his inside, gives him a hit, gets into the tyre bundle as well. Mick Boyce has to avoid his teammate, and Christopher Norton will slice through as well. And turn 4 there, one of the tightest points on the circuit for a mistake, because that tyre bundle is right up against the outside of the track. Check out this battle now for P3, led by Will Leslie, Cameron Dance, Chris Purnell in there as well. These three very close together now.
What a good battle going on. We've got battles going on everywhere. There's only 2 drivers in the field that aren't in a battle right now, and that's Mogren and O'Leary. Every other car in the field has another car to fight with. Incredible to see. And most of the battles aren't 2-car battles. They're 4, 5, 6, 7-car battles. It's incredible what's going on out there. And we're only 6 laps in. I think we're going to see a lot of this going on and just shuffling between drivers at an even pace for the remainder of these 22 laps.
100%, and welcome back to the booth. Reese Gardner,
Hi.
technical issues sorted out, and you shall return. You haven't missed much other than a bunch of good racing and a couple overtakes. We are seeing how hard it is to overtake though, Reese.
Yeah, looks like we are. Looking at Cameron Dance, trying to follow Will Leslie here. Cameron, of course, for TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport, and Will Leslie for Kinetic, who's fighting for that championship lead in the pro standings. These guys, all 4 in a pack, battling for the 3rd position. It does show that it is very difficult.
Norton and Muggleton contact on the approach to 1. Muggleton goes flying off the track there, facing backwards, and we'll get a replay up on screen of that, but it looked just a very clumsy piece of contact race. Norton was behind him, not close enough, went for the big dive bomb and just drove into the back of him.
Yeah, and you could see Muggleton here going for that early apex, which is what you do at Tarzan to get into the banking, but it does look like Norton just made that move as Muggleton was coming over to the left and just smashed right off the track. That's a big shame for Matt Muggleton, and not too sure how he would feel about that one. Fortunately, he managed to keep it out of the wall, so he's still running, which is a plus. But Marco Mogren enjoying an incredible 4-second lead, and there is some side-by-side action here. Chris Purnell trying to get up the inside of Cameron Dance, and this is coming out of Hugenholtz.
Oh, Dance.
Oh,
Here we go.
this is excellent. Going all the way down into
Oh,
Hansen. No. And there we go, Leslie. Oh, Leslie managing to gather it up. You can get on the throttle in these front-wheel drive cars and get the slide, but now he's side-by-side with Purnell coming into these last couple turns. And you can try and hold the outside if you can.
That was very good from Chris Purnell to avoid that and then somehow get into an overtaking position on Will Leslie there. And now should be on the attack again. Dance is redressing. Nowhere to go for Purnell. They make contact. 3 wide. Leslie goes into the fence.
Oh, and that's made it even worse.
Oh no! All 3 of them gone. No, what a shame.
Oh my goodness. And Will Leslie has lost a front wheel out of that. Big damage to the front bumper. Damage to the front left there for Will Leslie. So that's a big shame. And Cameron Dance was only trying to do the right thing there. Modem simulation replay of how that eventuated. Just a shame of them all coming together at the worst time. You could see Purnell trying to go for the move on Leslie, and then right behind him, Leslie just getting tagged by the other Fitstyle car of Harold Stadler.
Yeah, the redress has caused that.
Yeah. Well, that is a big shame. Another angle then. Cameron Dance, I mean, trying to stick to that inside line and Oh, that's huge damage for Will Leslie. You can see that front wheel flying
Oh,
and
fixed
getting
itself.
dislodged.
See how
Right.
the engine just pops back into place.
Righto. Well, all things good then for Will Leslie in that respect. But now,
Yeah, it's still
Cameron
good.
Dance
Still good.
and Chris Owen fighting for that 4th place here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they could both see Dance trying to redress, and Leslie was trying to pinch Purnell in behind Dance so he couldn't go for the overtake, and obviously they made that bit of contact, and then behind them Stadler trying to capitalize, just didn't want to be patient, got into the Will Leslie, and just a very messy incident caused by the redress, and unfortunately, and that's a shame to see those drivers taken out. Well, Purnell's gone back to 8th place now. Will Leslie, well, should have damage, but he's slow, so he has got damage, but he has got all 4 tyres at least, is way back in the field, and Cameron Dance still sits 3rd, the only driver really to not have a massive deficit from that. Stadler's back into 5th, and here comes Leslie now back into pit lane. Stadler's exactly where he was before the contact, except he's now got Chris Owen in front of him instead of Purnell.
Yeah, he has indeed. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes for Stadler, because he's taken the spare. Will Leslie has taken the spare car, as is the rules in majors. You are allowed 1 fast repair to get back out there. So fortunately, we will see him finish this one. But the battle between Dance and Owen is closing up, and it looks like Harold Stadler is not able to capitalize for now. Just seems like Owen is really monstering the back of Dance right now, and he has a lot of opportunities here to gain under brakes. Take a look at Brett Geraerts and Chris Purnell, of course.
Yeah.
Purnell having to reassess how his race is going to go, and he's stuck behind a car right now, the MFR machine, looking to try and get past Hans Ernst, maybe.
You'll be seeing red right now, Chris. Be very hot under the collar after that. Yeah, gets worked up a bit at the immediate aftermath of an incident, as we all do. Takes a little while to cool down, so the longer he sits behind, the calmer he'll be. But right now, if I was Brett Geraerts, I'd be a little bit worried of an aggressive move coming my way. Here we go.
Well, it looks like Purnell's already going for it
Oh,
here.
no, he's hit him.
Oh, no. Little bit of contact in the mid-corner. Contact again.
Good save.
Yeah, great save there from Brett Geraerts, keeping the throttle in, but unfortunately he's going to lose 2 positions out of that, because making his way through on him also is Victor Folby. But Geraerts firing it back up the inside at Tarzan, forcing Folby wide. This has brought Shane Bowen and Christopher Norton right into this.
Tough track to be blamed for that. I think they just came together. Purnell had the overlap and Geraerts didn't adjust his line for it. And now you can see behind, Christopher Norton moves Shane Bowen out of the way through turn 4, picks up another spot. Bowen's had an adventurous race so far, hasn't he?
Yeah, certainly has. Starting in 16th and now on the verge of being in the top 10. So he's had quite a few adventures in this one, but it's consistency and staying out of trouble that gets you results, especially in races like this. So throughout the field, Brett Geraerts still fighting off Christopher Norton and Chris Owen. You can see experimenting with his lines a little bit, having a bit of a look at Cameron Dance. I just get the feeling it's going to be a matter of when, not if, about this move.
Yeah, and hopefully this time it's a little less controversial than what we've already seen. Chris Owen, Harold Stadler back there now. Stadler's got good pace, it seems, and maybe that's why he was so aggressive, trying to make that move and capitalize on the mess on the main straight, because he knew he had the pace but couldn't quite make an overtake work. And he's close back up to rear end of Chris Owen and Cameron Dance now. These guys 14 seconds off of Mogren. He's got a 7.5 second lead over O'Leary. Those top two having a real boring old race out there, while it all unfolds behind them in a spectacular fashion. You can see everyone pretty much in the same shot there for the first dozen or so spots.
Yeah, excellent stuff, and everyone running single file for the moment. This is the midpoint of the race where things calm down a little bit, and I think you'll see drivers start to come together again towards the end, but that is a move there, potentially. John King defending against Wayne Taylor here into Tarzan corner, and John has to think about that Legends Series championship. And these guys are both in it because Wayne Taylor fighting for it as well. So a bit more of a points battle between these guys to work out with. It's probably going to result in a position change in the top 3.
Yeah, Wayne Taylor third in that Legends Championship. He's only 35 points behind John King. So this could have good ramifications on that particular battle as well. So we said we don't often think about it while commentating. Well, now we have, and we get to watch the championship battle unfold before us because Wayne Taylor looking to be aggressive now.
Yeah, certainly. And it looks like he's starting to face a little bit of pressure as well as we have a look at Chris Owen and Cam Dance once again. They're closed up. It's only about a car length between them at the moment. And Chris Owen, he'll, I mean, driving aggressively behind another car in these cars often is not beneficial. You want to be the car in front because then you'll be able to defend. You'll be able to look after your front tires. But if you're the one chasing, you're working those front tires harder. You want to get on the throttle a little bit earlier, get on the brakes a bit later and a bit harder. Chris Owen seems to be keeping some smooth lines, but I don't know how much longer this turn of pace is going to last.
Yeah, well, he's lapping the same now as Cameron Dance, which is probably because he can't get any closer. Of course, a little bit of disturbance in the air coming onto the front end of Chris Owen's car, affecting the downforce a little bit. Won't be helping either and be making his tyres work a little bit harder. So he will want to complete this before those tyres start to drop off almost halfway through this race. In fact, we're just past halfway in the race. So tyre wear is definitely going to become more critical as we get towards the end. And Cameron Dance at the moment in a better spot in that regard than Chris Owen is because he's got clean air way out in front of him.
Yeah, a lot of clean air to work with. That's going to give him a great advantage. Brett Geraerts, meanwhile, facing a potential move there from Chris Owen, but Brett Geraerts facing some big pressure here from Christopher Norton in the hot pink machine. And Geraerts running wide, a little bit of a rear end slide. He recovers it, but that's killed all of his momentum. Going to leave him open to an attack now from Shane Bowen. So Christopher Norton moving to the inside, trying to protect that position. Gives him just enough room on the outside. It looks like Bowen not able to capitalize, but Christopher Norton now into 9th place.
Good opportunistic move there from Norton. Started this one in 11th. He was as high as 8th and he went backwards. Now he's back up into 9th. He's having an eventful race, that's for sure. Back up in this battle for P3 then. It's very good and looking pretty close behind them as well. Purnell and Follaby. Purnell actually having to defend from Victor Follaby down the main straight. He's lapping quite a bit quicker than the Illusion Motorsport driver. So Purnell losing a bit of pace in that machine. Maybe a bit of damage he's carrying or just a mistake on the track.
Yeah, well, Folby's last lap, a 47.863. Chris Purnell, a 48.282. So that's a good amount of time that Folby's gained on that last lap, but chasing up is one thing, passing is another. Oh no, that's problems for John King, and that's going to hurt him in that top 3 in the Legends Championship standings. I don't know exactly where this is. This is down at turn 1, it looks like. And is this a move from Wayne Taylor that's put him off? So Wayne Taylor goes for the move on the inside. King, it's just a little bit of contact between them. It was a very slow slide that King just couldn't recover.
Yeah, hard to see from that angle, but yeah, it's unfortunate. He's got enough of the car to the inside and then just washed a little bit wide in the corner. Did they actually make contact though? Because yeah, I think John King might have actually already been sliding.
Maybe, but I did see Taylor go up the circuit a little bit. We'll see from the onboard. Oh, yeah. No contact on screen, but I don't know if it's going to be the same on John's end.
King definitely felt it, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, he certainly did. So he won't be too happy with that. So unfortunate for him, but Wayne Taylor carries on. And this battle for third is still staying as it was. 0.4 of a second between these guys. And you see Owen getting into the draft down this front stretch at Zandvoort. It's worth a bit of time. seeing a potential move in the background there. No, a little bit of a look from Daniel Stevens on Harold Stadler. Those guys have really bunched up now. But looking even further back, the likes of Shane Bowen and Dwayne Burns fighting very hard in their own battle packs.
They are, and we'll see whether any of these battle packs explode over the coming laps. Track just got a little bit darker. Did you notice that, Reese?
Yes,
It's
I did.
potentially a little more grip out there. 31-degree track temp still for them, but a bit of cloud cover may make some certain corners a bit extra grippy and less greasy from the sun beating down on it. So some of the drivers will be loving that, especially as the tyres start to wear. But I tell you what, Cameron Dance doing a really good job to hold off Chris Owen. He's just hitting his marks, hitting his lines, not making any sort of mistake, and Chris Owen's not able to find his way by. And you can see us take two different lines on the approach through these few corners. And I think if Owen just adjusts his line a little bit, he may be able to close up to the back of Dance a little bit further through this last sector of the track, and then be close enough for a lunge in turn one. But of course, Reese, it's only half points on offer for this race. There's still another race to come, so you've got to measure your aggressiveness and how badly do you need to make that move.
Yeah, you got to manage your expectations in an event like this. If it's only paying half points for a race and you don't make it by the guy in front of you, it's not too much of a problem. You can gain it back in the next race. But obviously, there'll be some drivers who will have good turns of pace at the end and will be looking to take as much advantage as they can. The gap staying consistent then between Dance and Owen. And it looks like most of the fights around here, it's just a case of following the car behind and hoping they make a mistake. I'm actually seeing a bit of fighting further back as Alex Court going defensive against Mirko Dortanac in turn one. Dortanac trying a big move there and having to fight with Dwayne Burns there. So these three guys battling super hard for this 14th position. And you see Alex Court, a little bit of a slide coming into Hugenholtz. I get the feeling it's starting to go off a little bit in terms of the tyres.
Yeah, Dortanac trying to get some new TV time for the brand new liveries for the TCR for Illusion Motorsport. They've been rejigged and redone by Riley over at Riley Curtis Designs, and everyone's got their own unique colour pattern. You see Chris has got a racing green, Dortanac's got, is that light grey and black? Mine's just black. But they look pretty good.
Yeah, they certainly do. Nice looking liveries on those Illusion cars. Chris Owen is drawn up to the back of Cameron Dance here. Very close to the rear bumper of the Fitstye car. I feel like it's only a matter of time. He's sizing him up, sizing up a potential move. Coming through these last couple of corners, it's going to be one of the most crucial areas of the track to get right. I mean, we saw with Brett Girards how important it is to get a good exit out of here. And just hugging that inside. You see Owen running a little bit wide there on exit. A little bit of aero imbalance, which hurts his run down the front stretch. I get the feeling if he wants to put a move on Dance, he will have to make it somewhere else on the track.
I mean, Owen's already up 8 spots, so in terms of how his race has gone, it's gone pretty well. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have to start from 12th again in the next one, which he'll be a little bit annoyed by, I'm sure, but certainly knows how to make an overtake, at least in the early stages of the race. So Owen here will probably just be learning maybe how to set up a good move for race 2. He has to come through the field again. Replay here, thanks to Motor Simulation.
Yeah, have a look at this, Ryan. Dwayne Burns going for the move and actually losing it. Dortanac had to take some avoiding action there. So that shows you the kind of moves as we go back live. Chris Owen and Cameron Dance very close here. And Owen on the verge of making a move through Shivlak. He's really on him now.
Yeah, the Jaws music, he's getting closer and closer each and every lap. And Cameron Dance, he'll be starting to feel the pressure. Not really one that makes mistakes under pressure, though. He seems to thrive under those moments. He is the reigning champion, of course, so he's going to have to fight this one. How hard does he want to fight it? Does he want to defend the corners and try to keep him behind? if they do start fighting, they're going to lose a lot of time and get caught by the guys behind too, which is another aspect to consider. Another replay. This is Victor Follaby, Christopher Norton heading through the middle of the track. I suspect there may be contact in this. Norton going for the switch over on the approach. There wasn't really room for that. Follaby had to sidestep him.
Yeah, well, ultimately he got the move done, and he stays in front there at the end. And back live, it's another big draft from Chris Owen down the front stretch, but still not quite able to get alongside Dance.
Yeah, so Mogren's leading by 10 seconds now, by the way.
Yeah, we should probably talk about our race leader, shouldn't we? He's been having a very consistent race there, doing 1 minute 47s and 1 minute 46s pretty much the whole time, and he's just seemed untouchable at the moment. I mean, he is the reigning Michelin Pilot Challenge champion in the TCR car, so makes sense that he would have this turn of pace. But my goodness, the amount of pace he has just astounds me. We look on board Daniel Stevens, who's continuing to battle against Harold Stadler here. Slightly narrower entry into that turn, not going to help Stevens too much. But again, it's a question of the tires. We don't know just how hard these guys have been working these tires. And oh my goodness, Harold Stadler, he goes for that late apex line, and it looks like he's actually lost out a bit there to Stevens. This could be a potential move at Tarzan, if not earlier. Stevens backing out of it for now. Stadler going for the narrow entry. He stays ahead just for now, but Stevens is smelling a top 5 out of this, and he is looking aggressive now. Coming into the last 2 turns, they're only going to have like 4 or 5 laps to go at the end of this one. 4, thank you, Ryan. But it looks like Stadler staying in front for now. As I'm corrected again by Jay, we do have 5 laps to go.
Yeah, of course. Mogren's already triggered the next lap, hasn't he, Reese? That's why. Big Shy was only just coming with lap 18 now, so yeah, no, 5 laps. But oh, look at this. Now he's going to run right up behind him. Said he was smelling a move for P5, smelling some exhaust fumes as well. He's tucked right up behind him now. And this part of the track, not an overtaking spot, unfortunately for him. If he can stay here, he may be able to make a move into the real tight, twisty stuff. Remember, side by side further back, this is the JP Simshed driver of Alex Court, was Dwayne Burns making a great move there in turn 4. This may allow Mirko Dornak to get by him as well. Don't think that quite happened there between them. But now you can see Stevens trying to set himself up. Might have actually lost a bit of time there with that move. And now Stadler with a bit of breathing room.
Yeah, oh my goodness, Stadler gained a lot there. Stevens was just a bit slower through that previous turn. They almost came together through Shivlak. You could tell that that Stevens, once he gets within that half a car length, it spells danger. So Stadler is running out of time to try and secure that double top 5 for Fitzstye Motorsports. Of course, Dance's teammate sitting in 3rd position. And speaking of Cameron Dance, Norton right on his bumper again. How are they going to go out of these last 2 turns? Because it looks like Owen is within the draft range out of this. He just needs to get Ari Luyendijk turn, the last corner right. A little bit of a wider entry. Dip it into the inside. Don't get on the throttle too early. That's a good, consistent run, but is he close enough for the draft to have any real effect? You see him drawing up on Cameron Dance now. Is he going to have a look into Tarzan? No, he's going to stay online. Not quite close enough to make the move. It's all about picking your battles. As Shane Bowen and Mick Buist on screen at the moment, these last couple positions in the top 10, Brett Gerard's having to defend. I think he might have just made a move.
Yes. I think so.
Oh,
mistake there for Dance. Got into the grass to the right side. Owen on his bumper, can't find a way through, has to dab the brake to keep himself within a decent range of him and not end up side by side, the very tricky part of the track. And Dance right there, he seems to be strong through this part of the track race, which is aiding him very well, because by the time they get to the last sector, Owen's not able to close in by enough to make a move into turn 1. But this time, Owen gets to
Oh, sorry. Just a little bit of rear-end contact between them. Sorry about that, Ryan. That caught me by surprise. And Chris Purnell and Christopher Norton still fighting. Norton by once again.
Oh.
Purnell tried at the previous corner. These guys are absolutely loving each other right now. Side by side again on the run up to Hans Ernst. So Purnell has the run here. He has the advantage. But will Norton be able to try around the outside? He does! Excellent stuff there from Christopher Norton. Great way to make the move, and it looks like he's managed to nail the exit as well, so we won't face much trouble from Purnell down the front straight.
I think you actually cut me off. The millisecond my internet started playing silly buggers. You timed that quite well though, Reese.
Okay.
And that was a really good move from Christopher Norton. And now Purnell's going to be on the defence again, because here comes Victor Follaby, who was behind Purnell earlier, got overtaken by Norton, and now behind him again. Purnell drives it down the middle of the racetrack, but look at this, further up as well. Stadler and Daniel Stevens side by side through one.
Yeah, and Stevens getting the better exit there, and he gets it done. He's gotten the move done. Daniel Stevens now into the top 5. Excellently executed exit from Tarzan corner. So he secured that, but going back to Norton and Purnell, my goodness, Victor Folby is smelling blood right now. Norton only staying a couple of car lengths ahead of Purnell, but Folby, I mean, we saw at down the front stretch, this 8th position battle is really going to heat up. Brett Gerards wants to get in on this too.
By the way, P3 and 4 are still in lockstead. Not really close enough for a move, but Chris Purnell is definitely looking in his rearview mirror now as Follaby's under pressure from Gerards. He pulls to his inside. Wrong side of the track for the next corner though. He's on the right-hand side, the outside. They actually bank doors on the approach. Trying to drive it around the outside. Not able to find the momentum. And now he's going to watch out for Shane Bowen. Looking to make a move too. But Bowen, I don't think, is in a good spot to do it. As Owen is, well, still there. Still trying. Still not close enough.
Yeah, well, they're only going to have 2 laps to go when they cross the line next. But this battle for the last few positions in the top 10 has absolutely come alive in the last couple of laps. Purnell is just the right amount ahead of Folby out of that. Oh yeah, Dortnack indeed making that move there on Wayne Taylor for 17th place. So that's a benefit there for the Illusion driver. He's now the cork in the bottle at the front of that pack.
So he is, and Purnell not under pressure this time by. There's Dortnack leading his own little train of cars. There's a move behind. That's Skurlock pulling to the inside. Surprising to see Michael Skurlock this far down the order, actually. As here comes a move for the MF Racing machine to the inside of Dortnack on the brakes in the middle of the corner. Carried it for quite some time, trying to make the car stick to the inside of the track. As a result, not able to find a way by is Wayne Taylor.
Yeah, not quite yet, but he's still got a few chances left, especially considering his competitors may be near the end of their tyre life. So, single file for now as they continue their snaking around the circuit. Harold Stadler, meanwhile, not done.
Mick Beers had a massive dive on Shane Bowen. Just in the pack of shot there, and I don't know how he found room to not turn him around. But in the end, it didn't work for him, but he's looking very impatient back there. That was a very aggressive move, and Bowen now will be wary of it, because here he goes. He goes for another lunge. Can he pull this one up? Swipes across the nose. Oh, no, he turns him around on the switchback. That's a shame.
Yeah, big shame there. So Bowen won't be happy about that, but it was a brave move from Buist. Unfortunately, not working out. Have a look at how close Chris Owen is to Cameron Dance this time, as it's white flag for these guys. Marco Mogren and Thomas O'Leary are in their positions. This is going to be one of Chris Owen's final chances, and he doesn't take it at Tarzan. So he's going to have to wait until the middle sector of the circuit where, as we said before, we know Dance is faster.
Purnell and Follaby side by side through turn 1 as well. Or still a slight overlap for Follaby. Oh, he has to back out of it. And Brett Gerards had to jump on the brakes too. That would have easily ended with Purnell in the fence. Great driving and a heads up driving from Follaby not to let that happen there.
Yeah, very good stuff. But they're going to keep going down this stretch up to Shivlak corner. Cameron Dance still has the margin over Chris Owen through here. And we know his pace in this middle sector. Owen's going to be running out of chances. But our second and first place cars, I mean, what can you say about them? They've had an absolutely fantastic drive. That's a desperate attempt by Owen there to get on the throttle as early as possible, but he's lost crucial ground to Dance there in those last couple of turns. And Purnell is still facing a huge amount of pressure as Brett Gerards tries to move on Victor Folby. Little bit of contact for good measure, and he gets by. But for our leader, Marco Mogren, it was a very quiet race for him, but an incredibly successful one too. He takes the victory in race 1 here in the Race of the Netherlands, and Thomas O'Leary is going to come home a very comfortable second place. What about third, though? It looks like Dance has the margin that he needs. Owen is too far back now to take advantage of the draft, so it looks like Cameron Dance is going to round out the podium here.
Dortnack and Chloe are side by side. Dortnack prevails through the left-hander back here for P16 in this race.
Oh my God.
Look at this mess of cars as they head through the final corner for the final time. Dortnack should just about have enough to cover off Chloe. Skerlock gets into the grass. He goes for a wild slide through the gravel. Can he keep it off the fence? Should do just about, but he loses a spot on the last lap there.
That's a big shame for him, and he managed to get onto the tarmac, though. They cross the start-finish line in a bit of a battle here for the line, but it's going to be the way that goes. And Will Leslie, well, he will be absolutely dirty about this one. He finishes in 24th place. And the last two here on track, Johnny Bell and Jake Fox, it's going to be a drag to the line for the final position. It looks like Johnny Bell is going to take it, but man, that was a good race. Close racing right at the end. What we want to see.
Yeah, that race kind of exploded towards the final half of it running. And, well, good news, race. We get to do it all again here in a few moments' time.
We certainly do. 25-lap race coming up. But before we do that, we'll run through the official results of this first race. Marco Mogren comes home in the position number 1. Thomas O'Leary, 11, nearly 12 seconds behind in second place. Cameron Dance just holding off Chris Owen there for third. Daniel Stevens makes it a top 5 at the end after that courageous move on Harold Stadler. Christopher Norton making some courageous moves as well to finish in P7. Chris Purnell and Brett Gerards 8th and 9th, and Victor Folby rounding out the top 10, but I do think he would have been wanting to do a couple of positions better than that.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Home in 11th, just outside the top 10 for Mick Boyce. Shane Bowen in 12th. Dave Douglas somehow ended up all by himself in a race where everyone else was battling around him. Dwayne Burns came home 14th. Alex Court 15th. Dortnack and Clowett behind them ahead of Wayne Taylor, Jonathan Bennett.
21st position, Michael Skerlock with that adventure on the last lap. Matt Muggleton coming home in 22nd. John King will be wanting more from that as well, as will Will Leslie. Johnny Bell and Jake Fox rounding out your 26-car field, if I can get my words out. On that note, we're going to go on a quick break here on SimSpeed TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. Race 2 coming up very, very soon. You're watching the International Division of the Majors Series, the Race of the Netherlands at Zandvoort, Round 4.
The iRacing Esports Network. Pace car down and in. It is Keegan Leahy's field to control as we say, let's go racing from Homestead. Round 3 of the 2020 Cup Series is green, and we're already blocking to turn 1 as Alfala tries to keep Lusa behind him. turn number 2. It is the 55 of Kane Cook, his Ford Mustang. Wrong way around at a turn 2. And it looks like that this may have been a bit of calamity. It looks like at least 3 or 4 cars got a piece of the contact.
Ryan loses, pokes the nose up the inside of the 83 as they come off of turn 4, but can't quite get there. Is Ryan Luza. Bobby Zielinski able to just hold on. Let's try 1 and 2 this time. Go up to the point. A little bit of a slide from Bobby on the turn in. That's going to make him nose to nose. Push it up the racetrack. Goes the 83 as Ryan Luza starts to nose ahead. They're still even as they work down the back.
I mean, he parked it on his left rear quarter panel on the front straightaway, and they just about doored each other off of turn number 2. This is the fight for the race lead. Will it be a pass for the race win? Luza on the inside. Yes, sir. Lap 105. Final time at a turn 4, and for the 13th time in his career, Luza a winner in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. He gets it done tonight at Homestead.
my god! Oh my god! Yes! Let's go! Yes!
So these guys are going to have to be smart. Those guys in front of them are racing their own race, but it's getting tight. I think Nathan Lewis he's got to be pretty cool. He's going to send it right on the inside, and he's going to take that position.
Oh, brilliant move from Lewis. That gets him first for at least the moment. Here comes Vigo right back at him. Barely given enough space by Lewis, who actually chops him off coming into the break-in for Jean Debienne.
Sometimes getting within that 1 second is good. Ericsson having to defend right now. Here comes Verstappen at the oak tree, trying to get it done. He's not got it on the exit now, and he's scuffing himself a little bit. He's trying to really defend now against Giassi here. Goes to the outside. Wing mirrors clip as they go through. Oh, it's door to door. It's fantastic stuff here in Virginia. Giassi's going to have to try and work hard for this one. And look at that, more contact between the Dutchman and the Brazilian as they come over to the next right-hander. Can he hold it on the inside? Who tried to Verstappen gives him a car length, but gets sent out to the outside on the exit. Sauber Taylors, you want in on this as well. Verstappen got the reward for trying to battle too hard.
Did I say? fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
And we are back here on SimSpeed TV for round 4 of the Majors Series, International Division, the race of the Netherlands from Zandvoort. And wow, what a race to start things off. But Ryan, this second race is going to be even better because we've had 3 cars join the grid. One of them is a person we certainly did not expect to turn up, and that is Matt Danson, who was leading the championship coming into this round. We didn't think he was going to race at all this round, but he's come out for race 2.
Hey, maybe you heard my comment saying he's always saying he's so good in road, but never backs it up with his, never backs it up on track. Maybe he saw that and decided, hey, I'm gonna show that young upstart what's up, and now he's out there. See how he goes. This will be interesting now, though, to see if Danson's actually any good on the road course.
Yeah, of course. Martin Houston also joining the grid as well for Kinetic International Junior, and Scott Newton being added to the field for Apex Racing Team. Now, those 3 guys, we're not quite sure where they're going to start, but it's probably going to be right at the rear of the grid for all 3 of those guys. So we are really going to get a sense of what Danson can do on a road course now.
Well, if he's as aggressive on a road course as he is at an oval, this is going to be a interesting drive through the field for him, especially with how tight the field is. So, how tight the track is. So, going to be interesting to watch how this will unfold. It's going to be interesting to see if any retribution's paid between drivers with incidents earlier on in the race 1. Chris Purnell was hot under the collar about his, innocent part in the big crash on the front straight earlier on with the redress that Cameron Dance butchered completely. Didn't erase. It was a strange incident, wasn't it? Because the redress in a straight line was very smart, sensible, good place to do it. But then it was the squeeze from Leslie that, put Purnell into contact with him, and then the opportunistic. It was just 3 different situations all coming together to cause a big, messy incident. It was unfortunate.
Unfortunate, yes, but motorsport is inherently chaotic, and stuff like that. The stars align in exactly the wrong way, and there's not much you can do about it. So it's the end then of this warm-up session before we go racing, and we're not going to go through the grid because it's exactly the same as race 1. Marco Mogren is starting on pole, and given his form in race 1, that is where we expect him to finish. A very short gridding period for this one, so we got a bit of time then to have a look at the conditions. It's afternoon conditions now, later on in the day, so we've got a hotter track, 34 degrees Celsius. It's still mostly cloudy skies though, so we should see a couple of clouds passing over the racetrack.
Should do. By the way, Dancer was quickest in practice, so
well,
watch out for him. He's got pace, apparently.
Yeah, watch out for him indeed. Quick zoom in then on the very back of the grid. Scott Newton, Martin Houston, and Matt Danson, your final 3 cars on the grid for this one. There we go. We can see him. Oh, hello. is one of those guys Dave Kamer? And the other one is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Nice to see you guys here attending and supporting the majors. You look very happy as well. But here we go, gridding period over. We're about to go racing, and the green flag flies, holding the revs, and it's a good start from Marco Mogren, but in the midfield, there's quite some banging in the background. Dave Douglas getting a good start, as is Matt Muggleton, as is John King, and Chris Owen firing his way up the inside of all of
them. Oh, around goes Gerards.
Oh, yeah, Gerard's losing a wheel out of that as well.
Baldwin got into him, and he's lost his front bumper, I think, as a result.
Yeah, Alex Court carrying some damage out of that as well, so a lot of biffo happening in the midfield, but it's on for the lead. Thomas O'Leary and Marco Mogren fighting for this lead, and it certainly wasn't this close in the last race. Can't wait to see how this one turns out. O'Leary is looking incredibly aggressive here.
He knows he needs to get by him, otherwise he's going to streak out to a big lead, but they are teammates, so he's going to be slightly careful about how he goes about this. Gave him a slight shot through that corner there. Push him a little bit wide, and now Mogren has a bit of a gap that he can play with here. Not under as much pressure now, and O'Leary might have lost the opportunity.
Might have. It's about halfway around the first lap where the tyres start getting some proper heat in them, and they won't be getting up to their optimum operating range for about 3 or 4 laps. So,
oh, Chris Owen! Oh, saves it. Contact with Douglas and him. Almost spinning around. Now he's under pressure from Dornack around the outside. And John King on the inside. 3 abreast into this corner. It's probably not going to work. They're going to try it anyway. John King gets into Owen. And he might get a return serve. He does. Pushed wide. Skurlock going to capitalise on that now.
Yeah, Skurlock fighting his way up through this field here, and King trying to get back at him there into the penultimate turn, but no success there. So Skurlock holds on, and as we cross the line to end lap 1, looks like an Illusion car going for the pits, Chris Purnell. So it looks like he might have jumped the start and gotten a penalty, had Chris, so that's not going to be good for him. The racing is still going on out on track, and I see Daniel Stevens running wide at the exit of Tarzan, getting together here with Dave Douglas. Is Douglas going to try and fire one up the inside here? We're getting a replay right now of Shane Bowen as it continues to happen out on track. So what happened to Bowen here down in 28th position? Oh, just going into the corner, firing it towards the inside, contact with another car, and he was around.
Purnell lurched forward on the grid almost as soon as the red light procedure started, so must have slipped on the clutch pedal or something, so that's why he's got that penalty, as Dornack just got banged out of the way and will lose out to a number of cars here. Going by him now is John King. Skurlock went by, so did Chris Owen and Daniel Stevens, so he lost a bunch there. And now he's trying to go back at him. Oh boy.
King leaves in the room.
Hip check and into the fence.
Yeah, that's no good for John King. Oh, and his car is absolutely destroyed out of that one too. What an ignominious end to John King's night. He will be extremely unhappy with that. Side by side then for some of the further top positions.
And Owen. Can Stevens go around on that? Oh, and he's going to get collected. And who's spun as well? Another 2 MFR cars.
There goes
and
a wheel.
And someone else has spun as well.
Oh my goodness, it's hard to tell here. I think one of those cars is, it's Danson. It is indeed Danson getting into the wall there. So we weren't sure how much he advanced on the first lap because of everything that was going on, but man, he is not looking good at the moment. That's some heavy damage to the front right.
If we get a replay from his perspective, he saw the crash, tried to avoid it. When he tried to rejoin, he rejoined straight into the side of Jonathan Payne. So unfortunate.
Well, we'll have a look at that very replay right now on board with Matt Danson, and you can see that crash happening right in front of him. Bit of a cut track. He tried to take avoiding action, and then onto the track, just gets smacked, and, well, you can't really steer away from that wall at that point.
No, like the fly swatted at his hand, said, nope, you're not coming back onto the track here. It's still on back here. There was contact in turn 1 between Mick Boyce and Matt Muggleton. And now they're not separated by much at all. And they've got a car in front of them as well. In the meantime, that's Alex Court right in front. Boyce looking to get on by the JP Sim Shed driver. Not going to happen there. He's got damage to his front right already from a hectic opening first few laps of this race.
Yeah, very hectic. And Christopher Norton, we're hearing, is around. He's gotten back going, but that's at the turn that these guys were just coming into. And we'll get a replay of that one to see what happened to the hot pink machine, as right as we go to this replay, Alex Court's been passed by Mick Buist. So
not quite.
Norton, it looks like, lost that on his own there in the middle of the corner. So as we go back live, you are right, Ryan. It is not quite.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
By the way, it was Scott Newton, not Matt Muggleton. Oh, Dean Moll's gone around.
Oh, no.
He's in the fence. And he's been followed by...
Oh,
He got hit.
this
He
is
got followed
chaos.
by Wayne Taylor is the other car that hit him. They
Okay.
both spun all by themselves. Dean tried to get it back get it turned around. Wayne Taylor came and hit him too. Yeah, so it was Scott Newton, not Matt Muggleson. It was behind Nick Boyce. They got similar livery cars. That's the confusion there. Muggleson's fed up the order in 9th place. Let's take a look at the replay of this. This is Wayne Taylor.
Yeah, so he tried his best there, and, well, he already encountered the car there of Dean Mole trying to recover, so this is a bit of an awkward situation between them. Here's another view then, coming right up to it. Dean Mole going hard into Hans Ernst, and all of the MFR cars right behind him. Mole just losing it on his own, then round goes Taylor behind him, and there they go. And that is a lovely little squad of MFR machines running line astern.
Yep. 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and all running right there together. Dave Douglas is on the back of Chris Owen, started from 12th at Owen, only up into 10th in this one. He was challenging for 3rd for the majority of race 1, so not being quite as good of a start for him. He runs wide through there. He's been beat up by a few drivers already in this one, and now Douglas looking to get on the offensive. He's going to try to cut back and get a run out of the corner. Doesn't quite work for him. He's got damage to the left side of his machine as well. A bit of paint scraped on the left door. He's been involved in a few biffs and barges already.
Yeah, missing a wing mirror for his troubles as well as Dave Douglas. So, fortunately for him, he started in lucky 13th and is now up to position 10. So he's making some good moves through the field. And another big mover, I'd have to say, is Michael Skurlock, starting 22nd. He is now running in 12th position, right in front of Mirko Dortonak. So it's been a profitable 4 laps for Michael Skurlock.
Certainly has been. It looks like finally they've just about settled down. It's, of course, 25 laps as opposed to 22 here for race 2. So about 3 laps, 12 kilometers longer than the previous one. Shane Bowen right on the back of Martin Houston here for 20th place. I think Houston's gone too deep. He's gone way too deep, and that was very easy in the end for Shane Bowen. There's further up, Harold Sadler and Dwayne Burns battling away for 5th place in this one. And it looks like Sadler's got enough of a gap at the moment, but if Burns can get a good run going through this middle section, should be right there.
Yeah, Burns will be looking to capitalise because he had a very poor result in race 1. So now that he is running here in the top 6, he wants to try and consolidate that as much as possible. Comparing lap times between him and Stadler, they're actually pretty even. 47.255 for Stadler, 47.360 for Dwayne Burns. So not much of a difference between these guys at the moment. And Will Leslie, who we know was one of the big losers in race 1, currently sitting in 3rd place and with a sizable gap back to Cam Dance.
Yep, and Morgan's not pulled out by anywhere as much as he had in the first race, has he, Reese? It's only 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, you're right. He's it's actually staying quite even there between himself and Thomas O'Leary up at the front. They both set 46.6s on the previous lap. I do still expect Mogren to get stronger as the race goes on, but certainly O'Leary being as close to him as that will be playing on his mind a little bit, whether or not things are the same between races. But unfortunately for John King, he's not going to be returning to the track anytime soon. Hasn't elected to get his spare car. So we say goodbye to him for now. And this fighting back in the pack, Scott Newton being one of them. He's currently chasing down Illusion Motorsports' Mick Buist for 14th place. And we know that Buist has he's actually fallen back from the battle that we saw him in earlier with Dortonak et al. So he's losing a bit of pace there with that damage, and Newton looking gradually pacier as time goes on.
He is, and Newton's up 12 spots in this race too, so he's had a stellar opening first 5 laps of this one. Looking to make it 13 positions as he tries to find a way by. It's such a long right-handed corner that as it sweeps downhill. Very easy to make a mistake. But Newton kept the car relatively close to the back of the Illusion Motorsport machine, so should be close enough to remove the next few corners now. As just lost a bit of time through there, didn't he?
Yeah, just a little bit. He did have a better run through the right-handers. And we're seeing that Cam Dance has gotten a bit closer to Will Leslie this time round, so not the best run from Leslie on lap 5 or lap 6. I'm not sure where our leaders are. But Mick Buist and Scott Newton, they're battling incredibly hard as well now. Newton almost putting a move on Buist into the Hans Ernst corner, but they stay the same for now. You see the draft here, the effect of the draft down the front straight at Zandvoort. Look at the amount that Will Leslie actually loses there to Cameron Dance. Just tapping the brakes in the middle of Tarzan. Got to try and get the rear end rotating. You have to run the brake bias very far to the rear in these things. It can create some difficulties when you're slowing down for these slow corners, because very easy to overturn the car and completely ruin your run. But it looks like Dance is doing very well at the moment to manage his tires.
He is. He's doing a very good job at the moment. And if you can keep the car through here, you can see them pouncing over the curbs. Newton got into the grass there. And behind him, not Newton, sorry, Leslie. And behind him, Matt Muggleton looking very aggressive on the back of Victor Follaby as well.
Yeah, Folby. He's wanting to improve as well from his race 1 result. Only managed 10th at the end of it. And he's facing a lot of pressure here from Matt Muggleton. A little bit more of an inside run. Folby very late on the brakes for this left-hander, but he brings it in for that late apex and a nice straight exit. So he does get a bit of a run there on Matt Muggleton, but I think it's only a matter of time before they come together in a sense. We're getting a modem simulation replay of an incident that has happened elsewhere on the track. This is Martin Houston down in 23rd position, having a slow run through the right-handers in the middle of the lap. Now, what happened to him here? It looks like he's just slowed down. He might have actually gotten a slowdown penalty at some point around the circuit. That's bizarre.
The field's starting to close up to the back of Will Leslie as well, because Harold Stadler, Dwayne Burns, Victor Follaby, Matt Muggleton, all starting to close up with some speed, and Cameron Dance now is going to want to be a little bit more aggressive and forthcoming and try to make this move stick, because he's going to have Harold Stadler right up behind him in a moment, which is his teammate. Dwayne Burns is right there too.
Yeah, so Dance won't want to face too much of that kind of pressure, and certainly won't want to be getting involved in any contact and having to redress like in the last race. So he wants to try and get past Leslie as efficiently as possible. And it does look like he's experimenting a little with his lines, a bit narrower exits, get the front wheels a bit straighter, and get a better run. Being a bit more aggressive on the curbs than Leslie as well.
He is. He's setting himself up now to get a very good exit out of here if he can get it turned down. That corner doesn't seem to be lending itself to the run out of the corner for the trailing car. It seems that even when they set themselves up for it, they're not getting a better run out. Maybe just a dynamic of the front wheel drive cars. You've sort of got to wait regardless to get onto the throttle before so they don't run wide. But either way, didn't quite work for him. He closes back up through there. But I reckon that Will Leslie's still got enough of a gap by the time we get to turn 1. You keep mentioning the draft down the main straight. It's helping, but it's just not quite long enough, is it?
No, the straight isn't quite long enough for some big drafting to happen. You really have to be right on the bumper of the car ahead coming out of the last turn if you want to try and make a move at Tarzan. But you see Dance with a bit of a run and a look as well. And it's not going to be a outbraking maneuver from that far back. Leslie resuming that 3rd place. Gap at the front out again to 1.7 seconds as of the last time they crossed the line. So Marco Mogren is starting to turn up that pace over Thomas O'Leary. But this 3rd place battle is certainly where it's at the moment. Will Leslie not losing out much to Dance in this section, and we see that these cars have actually spaced out a little bit since we first came to them. Now that we're getting into the lap 9-10 area, this is where the tyres are now within their full operating range, and certain drivers can take advantage of that a little bit better than others.
Yeah, 100% right. And Cameron Dance here looking very close to the back of Les now. Got a great run through there. And it takes a bit of a shallower line through the left-hander. Definitely closer on this lap to the back of... Might be able to make a move now into this one. Does he go for it? He shows a nose. Does he brake later? No, he doesn't. Tucks back on to the racing line. And Leslie didn't defend either, so Dance actually lost a bit into that maneuver, but he's showing the nose in various corners, trying to put Leslie off and force him into a mistake.
It's actually quite hard to put a move on the inside into Hans Ernst because, you know, it's the kind of turn that you need to be careful in to get your run through the left-hander right after it. So it's difficult to try and set up a move into there. But this battle between Mick Boyst and Scott Newton's still ongoing as we take another look at that third place pack. No moves being done so far. And it seems to be the case in the Majors series a lot of the time. Hold on. Yeah, all right, we'll go back to Scott Newton and Mick Boyce there because, my goodness, that was Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello at Hungary 2010. My goodness, we got a car around as well. We will get a replay of this, of both incidents. So have a look at this view from Scott Newton. You see Boyce getting a worse run there, and you already see him starting to move over to cover it, but Newton still sees the gap and right up against the pit wall. No room, almost taking each other's mirrors out. But Boyce saw that Newton was right by him. And that's Jake Fox for Kinetic down at the final turn. What happened to him here? Looks like just a bit of understeer he got on, and getting those rear wheels into the gravel is a recipe for disaster every single time.
Certainly is. He loses out to that, and that was aggressive defense from Mick Boyce, wasn't it? He did not want to let Scott Newton get by him, and in the end, Newton's got by, but he hasn't pulled away from Mick Boyce, who's still throwing the nose into every corner here, trying to find some way back by him, and he's not quite close enough to make it happen. That top three battle pack closed up again in the last lap or so that's starting to become a little bit more aggressive, as you see. Now they make their way through into the last section of the track, and through the final corner. Is Dance close enough this time by to make a move? Yeah, not going to be, is it?
No, he actually got a bit of a worse run through the mid-corner there than Leslie did, so he's lost out. And Harold Stadler is a guy that is facing an awful lot of pressure from Dwayne Burns right now. It seems like Dance and Leslie, they're on the verge of breaking away from these guys at the moment. Stadler just isn't able to make those gains right now.
No, he's not. And Stadler's throwing it into turn one, if you've noticed, and almost getting to the back of Cameron Dance from all the way back there. So if he actually gets close enough to Dance, he might actually be able to put a move on him into that first corner if he wants to, which would be interesting. If he can get himself a little bit closer to the back of his rear bumper, and Victor Follaby under pressure from Matt Muggleton as well, who just gave him a little bit of a push as they swept downhill. So they're battling hard for P7 right behind those two in front, and it's like 3 packs of 2 with a very small gap in between them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. And with the ebb and flow of these races in the majors, we do notice a pattern. We've been broadcasting this series for a while, and most races go through a lull in the middle, but then it all goes off at the end, which is exactly what we want to see. So I think we are in the lull stage right now. Drivers not being, on the majority at least, not being too brave and making big moves. But we should see things eventuate a little further once we get to about the lap 20 point. Here we go. Cameron Dance now closer than ever to Will Leslie through the final turn, and he will want to nail this exit. He uses the curb beautifully and actually had to get out of the throttle, but he's still got a great run. This could be the move that Cam Dance has been waiting for. He pulls to the inside. He gets on the brakes. Leslie's going to use the banking to his advantage and try and stay ahead. And it looks like he is just going to protect himself from Dance here. He's gotten the run, and now he's back ahead for when they come to the run up into Hugenholtz.
Tance annoyed not to make that one work, and might be his only opportunity of the race. You never know. It's very hard to get those opportunities. It's just about halfway as we get half of the lap. It'll bring the halfway point of the race. So, yeah, opportunities are very rare to make an overtake, it seems, and Dance wasn't able to capitalise on that as Matt Danton gets by Jonathan Bain and puts himself up into 21st place. So look at a replay here. Thanks for better simulation.
Yes, indeed. And that was a move down at turn 1 for Matt Danson, who certainly wasn't expecting to, whoa, nearly going the other direction under the brakes. That's front wheel drive for you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a look at Matt Danson's steering wheel as he comes into this corner. He starts to turn left. He has to turn right a little bit to turn left and just gets it together right off the racing line. Very scary in a front wheel drive.
Gathered it up nicely. This P3 battle. It's like a big tease, isn't it, Reese? It's like it could go off at any moment, but it's not. It's not quite happening yet. Mogelson just chopped off the back of Folby on the lap, which is a shame for him. See if he's got the pace to get himself back up there. Dance is close again to Will Leslie on this lap. If he gets a good run through here, he might be able to make a move, but I think Leslie might have just done enough.
Yeah, looks like it, but he's already going defensive. He knows that Dance is going to be getting a run on him here. Yeah, that's a great run from Dance, but Leslie just blocks off that outside line. Didn't give Cam the opportunity to get alongside. But now, Will Leslie is playing a big defensive game right now. Dance has turned on the aggression. You can't make a move up the inside here. The car in front is just going to stay to the inside. But once they get to that middle sector of the circuit, which we know from last race, Cam Dance is very quick through there, Leslie is going to have to watch out.
Almost pushing him through here. The roller coaster of a right uphill, then back downhill to the right-hand side. Thought about a move, but he had to back out of that one at 150 kilometers an hour. That got a little bit tight there for Cameron Dance, the TechSense Fitstyle machine, and right up behind the kinetic car of Will Leslie. Leslie playing rear gunner for his two teammates who have got now a 3-second lead for Mogren. It's 11 seconds back to this battle for the best of the rest, basically.
Yeah, but it's a great battle for the best of the rest, and it looks like it's all come together again. Cameron Dance trying those moves on Will Leslie and getting held up has brought Stadler and Burns right back into this. And Burns taking that narrow line into Hans Ernst, certainly thinking about a move there on Stadler.
Yeah, Burns looking like the most likely to make a move here unless Dance finds a big gain through this last corner as we ride on board with Dwayne Burns. You can see the amount of steering angle he's having to put in to get it rotated through that last corner. And too far back, it's going to look like for him as Fixer Follaby tries to close up. Mogelson continues to chop off the back of them, might have used up his tyres a bit too much. And for the first time in a couple laps, no moves being made into turn 1 in this group.
Yeah, so a little bit of calm then in this third place battle, but it's only going to be a very short calm, as Shane Bowen we're seeing has a run here on Matt Cloet. And the Avatar Auto Racing driver beginning his assault on MFR here, trying up the inside of Tarzan, and Cloet goes nice and wide to let Bowen through there. So that was a pretty easy move done at the end of the day, but he's got Cloet's teammates up ahead of him. Dance and Leslie once again, bumper to bumper on the run up to Shivlak. This is going to be interesting coming into the final sector because you can see right behind them, Stadler is pretty much bumper to bumper with Dance. This is a 4-car pack now.
It most certainly is, and I think Dance will be thankful it's his teammate behind him, at least. But here we go. He's going to go for a move into the left-hander. Didn't quite have enough speed to carry in to get it through on the inside, and now loses out on the exit of the corner. Be thankful it's Stadler behind him and not Burns. We'll see how nice Stadler is to his teammate here, though, as we continue to watch this group, and Dance almost pushing Will Leslie through the corner.
Yeah, he's getting very close, getting some Morse code on the rear bumper of Leslie there, telling him, I am here, I would like to get by. And it only takes one small mistake from Leslie for that to be the case. So they've split out again into their 2 packs of 2. And the last couple of cars, Victor Folby and Matt Muggleton, that were in this pack, they've started dropping off, and Muggleton losing ground to Folby. So I don't think there's going to be a move for them anytime soon. These guys going incredibly deep into turn 1. Stadler is really a fan of using that ABS to his advantage, isn't he?
He is. He's throwing it into turn 1 and turn 4 as well. That's where he's spending all his time, actually, so he's very confident on those brakes. Here comes Cameron Dance again. You can see how the track snakes its way through the dunes here in Zandvoort, and it's a beautiful piece of racetrack. No overtaking opportunities through that piece of track, though. Dance is almost going to apply the bumper to the back of Leslie.
Yeah, you can tell he's just got a fantastic run there, particularly into the high-speed corners, but he just can't take advantage of it. The track is incredibly narrow in that section. It really gets at its widest through this middle sector here, where you can fit, 4 or 5 cars wide. But once again, Leslie is far enough ahead that an opportunity is not presenting itself for Dance. And Cameron trying to size up the run out of the left-hander, but once again, just not getting it done. Leslie with a little bit of breathing room at the moment.
Further back, they're still battling. Scott Newton's fallen behind Mick Boyce again, so he's found his way back by. These two battling very hard. Now Newton goes for the dive bomb back to the inside. Oh, Boyce just left him enough room into the corner there, and Newton had to just tap the brakes a bit more than he would have wanted. But they just switched around on this lap already, so these two looking like they're going to do a race-long battle here for 16th place on the racetrack.
And it's a quick defensive move from Will Leslie there, and another look from Dance as Shane Bowen is off the track at Hans Ernst. We saw him battling with the MFR cars just before, and that's some very heavy damage for him. We'll get a replay of that in a minute, but we'll see how this battle sorts out. Leslie, a little bit of a mistake on the entry into turn 2. Dance is going to try and get that run on the inside, but Leslie, a very nice recovery. He gets that late apex and he gets that run. So it's another slight relief for our third place runner.
Let's take a look at the Modem Simulation replay then of the incident with Shane Bowen. You can see he's in the MF Racing sandwich in his Avatar Auto Racing car on the approach to the incredibly tight right-hander. Gets on the brakes. Oh, he's got into the back of him and spun himself down to the tyres. That's an odd crash there. Got into the back of Betcherats.
That is bizarre. We'll have to take a look at that. So here comes Bowen then on Gerards and just hits the bumper, and then, yeah, for some reason that turns him around. That's very bizarre.
Cameron Dance
move
to the inside at that very corner, and he's done it.
Oh, well, good thing we only just got that, because my goodness, fantastic stuff. Cameron Dance now up into third place, and, well, he was threatening to do it at Hans Ernst, and he managed to do it. We'll get a Modem Simulation replay of this one from the perspective of Cameron Dance. It does look like he got a great run out of the left-hander beforehand, and Will Leslie giving him the room. Racing room, always good to see. So that is the third place battle changed for now, and Will Leslie is going to try and face some pressure from Stadler, but Mirko Dortanack and Scott Newton are still not done with each other here for 13th and 14th. Is Newton going to try and get past Dortanack here? He's got the run super late on the brakes, very deep into Tarzan. Does he manage to pull it up? He does, and short shifts for good measure, getting the run out of Tarzan. Incredibly brave from Scott Newton, but he got it done.
I think I was calling Alex Court Scott Newton earlier. Correct. Oopsies, sorry about that. But now Newton does find his way by Dortanack. It's still an illusion car he's battling with. And let's see if Leslie's got anything to stick with Dance here.
Yeah, because he's spent a lot of time. Whoa, Marco Mogren up the inside. That came out of nowhere. Bit of contact with Leslie, and he is facing up against Dwayne Burns as well. That was an incredibly opportunistic move from Stadler. He just went for the huge dive.
He did, and of course Mogren 5 seconds out in front, and Stadler making aggressive moves to the inside. And poor old Leslie's just been doing a great job defending all race. Suddenly he's lost 2 spots in 2 laps. You see the replay here. Opportunistic down to the inside. Slight amount of contact, but reasonably clean there and a good move.
Yeah, well, a little bit of contact is all right in touring car racing. That's kind of what it's about. And full credit to iRacing, the damage model and the physics of the car allows you to get into those very close battles and have a bit of contact, but still keep going. It's excellent to see. But now, Will Leslie back to 5th place, and Dwayne Burns right behind him, looking to make that move. He saw how Stadler got by, and Burns may be thinking, maybe at that same corner, if I get close enough to Leslie, I can try the same. Oh no, Johnny Bell and Wayne Taylor at a standstill. We'll have to take a look at that one thanks to Modem Simulation. And that was all the way back in the lower reaches of the grid. You saw Taylor go for the move there, and he tried to get it done, but I think a bit too aggressive, and Johnny Bell was going to turn in.
And they were pointed in the right direction, and then they weren't. On board with Purnell, there's the contact.
Yeah.
And strives around it. Too easy for them, but then they spun themselves out again. Just after it.
Well, Purnell managed to work out that situation very nicely and get through on those two. So we take a look once again at the battles in the midfield. Alex Court facing some pressure, from Daniel Stevens. The DPR driver has certainly been in the wars, still carrying some damage from earlier on, but still running in a good 16th spot. But he's got a 3-car MFR assault on him that is brewing. That's Daniel Stevens, Brett Gerards, and Matt Cloet behind him. And it looks like Daniel Stevens has got the run on him here. Alex caught a bit down in straight line speed thanks to the damage, but Stevens not quite close enough to get the move done.
I'm not quite there, but I think it's turn 1. Court's going to be under a lot of pressure as Chris Owen loses out to Christopher Norton through the last quarter. See if he can come back at him at turn 1. He's certainly close enough to think about a move. Decides against.
Yeah, and I think at that point it's about looking after the tyres, because if he tried to get the move back, he would have used up his tyres a bit. That's the reason why. Unfortunate there for Chris Owen. As we're looking at this replay, there has been a move for 16th place.
And Dwayne Burns. Burns goes through. Leslie made a mistake coming out of turn 4, got onto the grass, and Burns was able to go right on by him.
Well, that's the move done there for Dwayne Burns, and he's back into the top 5 now, is Mr. Burns, but you can see that he doesn't have much of an opportunity to move further forward, because Stadler and Dance right in front of him, well, they're starting to pull away.
Yeah, I think Leslie's really struggling with his tyres on this hotter track temp as opposed to the last race, and he can see that, and the 3 guys have gone by him now already, and he's got a few more guys lined up behind him. He might want to try to pull move as well. It's Victor Follaby and Nat Muggleton who have found some more pace after dropping off in the middle stages, and Stadler and Dance I don't think will fight being teammates. They'll just want to get themselves through to the end of the race.
Yeah, they certainly would. It's one of those things. First rule of motor racing is you don't hit your teammates, so they will be taking care around each other. It's 6 laps to go for our race leader Marco Mogren, who now enjoys a 6-second lead over Thomas O'Leary. It's a very dominant run once again from Mogren. But these guys back in the pack, continuing to run single file down the front stretch, and it's interesting to consider where moves might be made in these last 6 laps. Because we know that Dance got by at Hans Ernst. We know that cars have gotten by at Tarzan. Will there be any other places around the track where we'll see some moves happen in this 3-lap extra race? Oh, no! Bit of contact there. Mick Boyce and Daniel Stevens into Tarzan. Mick has certainly had some adventures in this one, hasn't he? That 3-car MFR assault continuing, and Alex Court right in the middle of it all. You can tell that Daniel Stevens has really got a good turn of pace in this last half of the race.
Yeah, he certainly does, and putting Mick Boyce under a lot of pressure now. You can see the Illusion car carrying damage to the front end, which probably affecting the straight line just a little bit. And that's why he's struggling for pace and coming under the pressure that he is. Daniel Stevens is there, so is Alex Court, Brett Girard, and Matthew Clowett. All lines up in this 5-car tandem as they snake their way through this very tight, twisty circuit here at Zandvoort.
Very tight and twisty, but also fast and flowing as well. I love tracks like that that just seem to be at odds with themselves. But a late apex run attempted there from Daniel Stevens, no advantage for now. So Boyce holding on to that top 15 position, but things could definitely change in the next few laps, because you see that that Stevens actually gapping Court and his teammates behind him.
Look at Burns.
So it's going to be quite interesting. And interestingly enough, Christopher Norton, fastest car on track as we take a look at Dwayne Burns.
Right on the back of Harold Stadler now. And Stadler had to go traditionally extremely late on the brakes into turn 1 as he's been doing all race. So I'll tell you, it's going to be tough for Burns to make this move as we see Purnell and Mole. Purnell picks that spot up relatively easily. That's actually Martin Houston. Mole's just in front of these guys. It's going to be tough for Burns to get by. So one's the best opportunity, but Harold Stadler's been so late on the brakes into that corner, hasn't he?
Yeah, and Harold Stadler strong enough on the brakes that the guys behind him just can't take advantage, and that is where the advantage is for Stadler, as we hear Norton is the fastest car on track once again, up in 9th place. A 47.874 for him. He's the only car in the 47s right now. It's probably a shame for him that he's not further up, because he could certainly take more advantage of that. Having said that, he is drawing right up to the back of Matt Muggleton and Victor Folby, so we're going to get another 3-car battle soon. Motum simulation replay for Alex Court. Oh my god, this looks awkward.
Got an MF car to his left. That's Brett Girard. So he goes by, clips the curb, and goes around the outside of him in a very high-speed part of the track. Good move there.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to try and get that. As we go back to the 3rd, 4th, 5th battle, Harold Stadler facing a lot of pressure from Dwayne Burns right now. Get the feeling with Stadler's incredible use of the brakes, he might just have used up enough of his tyres that he's at a disadvantage, as we see Norton through on Muggleton, and his next target is going to be Victor Folby. But Cameron Dance pulling away from Harold Stadler, and Dwayne Burns right on the back of him now. Burns could be looking at a top 4 here for Avatar Auto Racing.
Yeah, Stadler's looking very good. And Christopher Norton's finding a lot of pace, isn't he? He's might be able to get to the back of Victor Folby too. He's one of the fastest cars on the track for the fastest car on the track for the last 3 laps, actually. So those tyres are looking pristine for him. See if he can get to Folby and maybe Will Leslie, as Harold Stadler still trying to find a way to defend from Dwayne Burns here.
Yeah, you could see he was taking that slight defensive line into Shevlak, and we'll be keeping an eye on Christopher Norton for sure in the last few laps of this one, because he could be looking at a top 7, maybe a top 6. Have a look at that 3rd place fight then. Harold Stadler facing huge amounts of pressure from Dwayne Burns still, but it's going to depend on the run that Burns gets out of the corners. Dance seems pretty comfortable. Stadler super late on the brakes again, almost getting into his teammate's bumper. That's the only way he can stay ahead of Burns right now.
Yeah, it is, and Burns is going to be getting frustrated with how late Stadler is on the brakes, but it's probably down to setup that Stadler's able to go that deep into the corners, and maybe Burns will take note of that and maybe adjust that to his setup for future rounds of this series. As Stadler, well, I think he's definitely got enough this time. Look at behind, Christopher Norton trying to go by Victor Folby. He should pick this one up, and he does. Folby just let him go there.
Yeah, straight lift, and there you go, mate. So Folby at this stage, I think, realizing that Norton is incredibly quick, and Folby falling back from his rivals up ahead, so figuring it's just for the best that he doesn't make it too hard and slow Norton's progress. So he's going to be getting up onto the back end of this potential top 3 battle, but he doesn't have much time left to make up that gap. The gap is, I'd say, just over a second there to Will Leslie.
It is, and oh, look at this.
Whoa.
Side by side between the team cars, the MF Racing machines, the 66 and the 54 of Wayne Taylor and I don't know. I don't know, Reese.
It's Daniel Stevens and
wow.
Claude and Court. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We've completely lost track of that at the moment. But oh my goodness, the third place battle is going off once again. Oh, Stadler. Was that a defensive move or was he looking to Dance's inside?
Don't know. He got very close regardless. And now Dance has a couple car lengths breathing room over Stadler. Going to be 2 laps to go as they come across the line. And I tell you what, Dwayne Burns, if he gets a good run here, might be close enough to have a lunge at turn 1. He's certainly right in his wake in that slipstream. Sadler just moves over to the middle of the racetrack. Burns is getting closer, closer. Looks to the inside, but how late is Stadler? Watch out for Dance.
Whoa.
Oh, thought he might get him there.
Yeah, thought he might as well, but only just managed to pull it up at the end. So it's actually given a good advantage to Cam Dance, this driving by Harold Stadler, securing that podium for Fitzstein Motorsport. But I tell you what, Dwayne Burns running out of time. He is going to pull out all the stops to try and get this move done. Matt Danson, meanwhile, getting up into 15th spot. He's just passed that entire battle with Gerards Buist and the MFR teammates. Meanwhile, Chris Owen trying to get his way back up into the top 10. He is on the back of Matt Muggleton for 9th place. And we know how fast Chris Owen is. This could be a potential move.
Yeah, Owen not had the race he would have wanted after his great showing in race 1. Wasn't able to carve through the field in the early laps like he did in the first one, but still a top 10 is going to be a pretty good result for him if he can hold on here in the closing stages. They're still battling for 17th. Mick Boyce got Daniel Stevens all over the back of him. Not quite close enough for a look there. What about into this left-hander up here? Boyce going to defend the corner. Doesn't want to leave that door open, but Daniel Stevens going to be very aggressive for the rest of this final lap and a half as Mogren takes the white flag.
He certainly does, and he's in the middle of Tarzan right now. But we're taking a look at Dwayne Burns on Harold Stadler. This is going to be one of the last opportunities Burns has to try and get into the top 4, but he's not close enough once again. Stadler going defensive, late on the brakes once again. Oh, Burns going very deep into the corner, almost into Stadler's bumper. This battle is on, coming into the final lap of this race of the Netherlands. This round 4 of the Majors Series has absolutely turned it up in these final few laps. Burns' only chances are going to be through the middle sector and into Hans Ernst at the end of it. Once he gets out of that penultimate turn, it's done.
Yeah, gonna have to be a sensational move for Burns to get there from the gap that he's got to make up now. I think Stadler at this stage might have just about done enough to claim 4th place, playing a beautiful rear gunner role for Cameron Dance, because I reckon Burns probably had the pace to get up into 3rd place too. If he could get by Stadler as he closes up, he might have one last look here. Almost had an overlap, but not quite.
Not quite. There's only one more chance left for him down at Hans Ernst. He does not nail the exit, does Dwayne Burns. He's not close enough. Coming into the penultimate turn is our race leader, Marco Mogren. And into the final turn he goes now. I'll tell you what, this round for Marco Mogren has been nothing but perfection, leading from start to finish in both races, and a fantastic points haul for the Kinetic team as a result of that. Coming home in second, Thomas O'Leary, once again, very comfortable in the Kinetic International team, and it looks like Dwayne Burns has not been able to get the move done on Harold Stadler. He will stay in 5th, but it's going to be a drag race to the line. And that's all she wrote for that one. Battles going further back in the pack. Chris Owen getting by Dave Douglas, who's trying his best here to fend off Michael Skurlock. It looks like that's how they're going to finish. And further back in the field, looks like Stevens, Cloat, and Court are in the order they will remain. Mick Boyce coming home in P17 after all of that. And couple of battles happening in the very minor positions. Wayne Taylor and Martin Houston battling for 25th and 26th, coming down to Hans Ernst, and Houston getting the run there. Taylor not quite able to extract the pace from his car that he needs, so he might have to settle for 26th here.
Might do, but I tell you what, still under a lot of pressure into the penultimate corner, but he will sweep through. He will hold on for... Oh no, he's into the gravel. Can he hold it? Just about. This could be a drag race to the line to the Kinetic and MF Racing machines, but he's gonna hold on. He just about had enough in it.
Parked it on the apex, stopped Taylor from getting that run. There's a good defense there from Martin Houston. And that, at the end of it, man, I mean, we hardly gave Mogren any airtime in this event. And usually at SimSpeed TV, when we fail to give airtime to people, it means that they are way up in front, they are absolutely dominant, and nothing's going wrong for them. So Marco Mogren demonstrating his supreme skill in these TCR cars and in the Majors series as well. So then race results. Marco Mogren coming home in 1st place. Thomas O'Leary in 2nd. Cam Dance in 3rd. It's pretty much the same finishing order from the last race. Harold Stadler makes it 4th place, and Dwayne Burns gets a top 5 for his troubles. Will Leslie, unfortunately, slipping back to 6th. He would have liked to have stayed in those podium positions and made it a podium lockout for Kinetic. Christopher Norton comes home in 7th with that great turn of pace right at the end. Victor Folby in 8th. Chris Owen finishing in 9th, and Dave Douglas rounds out the top 10 for Illusion.
11th was Michael Skurlock, right ahead of Scott Newton in 12th. Matt Muggleton and Mirko Dortnack 13th and 14th. Danson ended up coming home in 15th from the back of the grid. Brett Gerards and Mick Boyce 16th, 17th. Daniel Stevens, Matthew Clow, Alex Court rounding out that top 20.
And the final positions then, 21st, Jonathan Ben, Shane Bowen coming home in 22nd. Dean Moore would have been hoping for more, as was Chris Purnell. Jake Fox, Martin Houston, and Wayne Taylor, with Johnny Bell rounding out your finishes, and our one retirement, John King. That's going to hurt him in the Legends Championship standings.
Certainly is, but Marco Mogren making a big statement as we head road course racing then for the majority of the rest of the season. Still a few ovals to go, but come the end of the year, he might be right up there on the champion.
Yeah, he may very well be. And you know what? We've been made aware of some information that really hits home why this is called the international division of the majors. The top 5 drivers were from Sweden, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. I mean, it's pretty incredible the amount of variance in international drivers we're seeing in this series. It's not something you get to see often in sim racing.
No, you're 100% right, and great to see everyone jumping in and making this a great event and a great region, and another great race today.
Yeah, very great race indeed. First driver interview then of the night as we go into post-race coverage. Cam Dance, podium finisher in both races. Man, Cam, that was quite the adventurous round for you. And, well, your view of that incident in race 1 coming down the front stretch, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was kind of confusing. I was actually trying to redress with Will from the incident a few corners before, as I wasn't quite sure whether it was my fault or what happened. Then afterwards, I looked and it actually wasn't. But anyway, yeah, I was just slowing down to try redress, and everybody was sort of coming at me like a horde of lions, sort of thing. So yeah, it was a little bit awkward when I suddenly heard the crunch sound and went, uh-oh, this isn't going to end well. And then I believe it was actually Harold who ended up hitting me in the side, and I thought that was it, game over. We're they're going to have to pay, yeah. But no, it ended up actually being only minor body damage. So, yeah, lucky to get away with that. But, yeah, really weird incident, that one, and just unfortunate that it happened.
Yeah, well, fortunately for you, you managed to hold on for a third place in both races, and certainly your defensive driving was one of the highlights of this event. And Stadler as well, your teammate, who we can see behind you on screen there in the magnificent slow motion. We noticed that Stadler was very late on the brakes, coming into a lot of those heavier braking zones. So were you guys talking about that before the race, like strategies you could use for defense? Because these cars, you can really put on a good defensive drive in them.
Yeah, we were sort of talking a little bit leading up to the race, and also in between, sort of what sort of we can do to get by and that sort of thing. We were running two different sets actually, so the strengths and weaknesses of either of our cars was a little bit different, but nevertheless, we seem to have pretty much the same pace at the end of the day, which was really, really good. And to come away with a P3 and 4 in race 2, and then a P3 and I believe it was P7 for Harold in race 1 is pretty good for the team. So yeah, can't complain.
Certainly not, and it certainly helps you vault up the championship standings. It's been a slow start to your championship defense campaign, but I think this might be a sign that it's getting back on track.
Yeah, hopefully that's the goal at the end of the day. Obviously, is accumulate as many points as possible and carry a few results along the way, and then yeah, hopefully get another one of those Mario Andretti trophies. So yeah, we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of racing to go, a lot of different strange and wacky events. So yeah, looking forward to it and seeing what might possibly happen, and hopefully can defend the title at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we let you go, Cam, any shout outs, any sponsors, who gets it done for you at TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport?
Yeah, just want to say shout out to the guys at Fitstyle Motorsport and our sponsors, TechSense Sensors, Renville Harnesses, uh, who else? I'm actually forgetting. So, Demon Tweaks, and you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast, and Majors for putting on an awesome series as always.
Cameron Dance there, your third place finisher. And Ryan, you're going to have a chat to our second place finisher now, Thomas O'Leary, who definitely had a calm race there with a double P2.
Yeah, thank you. It was a bit uneventful, I guess, to be honest, but we just didn't have the pace compared to Marco. I definitely found time in the second race. We were a little bit closer at the start, but he just managed the tyres better and then eventually pulled away.
You were obviously the same team as Marco. Were you running the same setup? Was that any reason for the pace differential, or was it just purely Marco's pace alone?
No, we ran the same setup, so he's clearly just a better driver than me. But no, the setup felt good, and the Kinetic guys worked hard on the set this week, but just wasn't enough to overhaul the pace difference between me and Marco.
Well, still a good result of 1-2 in both races for you, for your team. Obviously, this being the international region, you being from the UK or around that area, is this a one-off for you in this region? Are you going to be back in this region for more of the season? What's the go for you?
I'll be in this region, or like race region, for the rest of the season, I think. The other times don't work so well for me, so the Aussie split, so to speak, work best. So you'll see more of me in this race.
That's good. Definitely good to have another competitive driver in this field. So, the rest of the season then, we've got plenty more road racing, mainly road races making up the next stage of the season. We've got a couple oval, couple dirt in there as well. But based off today, you and Marco should be some of the favourites for those races.
Yeah, I mean, I think our strengths are definitely in the road races. I've done a bit of oval and a bit of dirt oval and whatnot as well, so I feel quite rounded in my skill set. But I'm definitely looking forward to the road races coming up.
Well, looking forward to seeing how you can go on that, and maybe lead a resurgence there for Kinetic, who should come away from today in the lead of the race. And I've just been informed the next two races are actually ovals, funnily enough, the Coke 600 and the Indy 500. But after that, plenty of road racing to come. Before we let you go, who are the sponsors and the people you want to give a shout out to?
Just a big shout out to the Kinetic guys, and then obviously the Majors guys for setting up the races, and of course you guys for doing all the broadcasting. It looks super good, top notch. So just like to thank almost everyone involved in getting this series underway.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas. Hope to talk to you next time.
Thank you. See you soon.
That was Thomas O'Leary there for Kinetic International. And the final driver interview of the night is going to be our double race winner, Marco Mogren. Marco, it was it seemed like the perfect drive from you, similar to what we saw from you at the Milwaukee Mile and the Lotus 49 last season. Just seemed like the Kinetic guys really had that setup sorted in the Audi RS3.
Yeah, setup feels really good. It's a tricky combination because the tires go off quite a lot. So I don't think there is ever a perfect setup for this car. But yeah, pace was there.
Yeah, certainly. Well, what kind of prep was Kinetic putting into this? Because we heard from Thomas O'Leary that you guys were putting a lot of effort into getting the setup right for this one. It's a difficult track to wheel a front wheel drive car around. A lot of banked turns and a few bumps for good measure.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, you have to compromise the setup in some ways to make it work. And at the same time, it makes it harder to drive. So there's like a trade-off where you have to meet in the middle, I guess. But I think a lot of us put in a lot of hours. So it's more about being comfortable than anything.
And with that double win, I think you've you pretty much secured the assault on the championship lead here in the international division. So from here on in, things are looking up for you, especially with the next two races on the schedule being ovals.
Yeah, I think I need a buffer for the ovals. I'm not really comfortable or quick on those tracks, but I get a lot of help from my teammates to make both setups and try and figure out how you actually race on them. So I'm quietly or confident for the races ahead.
And on that note, before we let you go, Marco Mogren, is there anyone that you would like to thank here from your position as winner of these two races?
My teammates for helping me prep and just being there, making it fun to prepare for the races.
Marco Mogren there, your event winner by a dominating margin actually in the Race of the Netherlands. And that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, Ryan. I certainly enjoyed that one, but we're not going to be racing on a road circuit for a while in this series.
No, despite me saying we would. But we're still going to have plenty of road racing towards the back end. We've got the Coke 600 and the Indy 500 coming up next, two iconic races in their respective disciplines, and they should be some great action.
Certainly. The World 600 taking place on the 26th of April in the NASCAR Gen 6s at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And then, of course, on the 17th of May, we've got the Indy 500 in the Dallara IRA team. Certainly looking forward to that one, but we'll see how things turn out from here. It was a fantastic night of racing in the international division of the majors. Once again, we want to thank Mike Ouellette and the majors admin team for putting on this fantastic series and giving us an opportunity to see who are some of the most versatile drivers in sim racing. That's the point where we say farewell to you now at SimSpeed TV. And we will have V8 Scops on the iRacing Esports Network tomorrow, so be sure to tune in for that. From us here at SimSpeed TV, it's bye for now, but not forever.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this? Oh my god!
God, what?